Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning into Journeying with Adonai podcast. For those who don't know me, I go by Ja, and today we are going to be talking about mastering peace. Now, I wanted to talk about mastering peace because it's a really big topic. I think it's very important for us to learn and know what peace is in order to master it. In order for us to master peace, we have to know how to find peace in our everyday life. Life be lifing sometimes, and the world isn't always kind to us, and so we need to learn how to master peace in order to conquer. I would like to tell you guys a little bit of a story. This story is actually going to be about Abram, but he's also known as Abraham. So Abraham was a man who learned how to put faith first. Abraham in the Bible is actually named Abram, and Abram basically means exalted father. And it changes to Abraham, which means father of many, because it symbolizes his destiny to become the ancestor of many nations, which is said in Genesis chapter 17, verse 5. He learned over time in his journey the power and wonders of Adonai. He was put through many trials. His faith was tested. Abraham was going through life like how we do. And he had to learn to put his faith first, regardless if he had doubt or fear, in order to become the man that Adonai called him to be. He would eventually become the first human, the first of mankind, with whom Adonai entered a formal covenant with, involving land, descendants, and blessings. This covenant became the foundation of God's relationship with Israel. Abraham is meant to find the land of Canaan, which was the promised land from Adonai in Genesis 12. Where Adonai comes to Abraham and tells him to flee his homeland and find the land of Canaan, where he's going to put a spiritual claim for the next generations, and all of the nations of the earth would be blessed through him. This would be the land of Abraham's descendants. So Abraham had a big responsibility. His calling just wasn't about Abraham himself. It was about the nations to come. It was about the generations to come after him and his bloodline. So Abraham had to claim the land of Canaan, not just for himself, but for the bloodline. This is where bloodline and covenant meet. So Abraham tells his wife Sarah, who he is also one with, he tells his wife Sarah what Adonai tells him to find the land of Canaan. And so Sarah and Abraham, as husband and wife, and as the union that they are in, they go on their journey and they look for the land of Canaan that was promised to them by Adonai. And not only does Abraham take his wife, he also takes the rest of his family, including his brother Lot. And so they're all on this journey to find the land of Canaan. In Genesis chapter 23, we learn that Abraham's wife Sarah dies. And Abraham is now looking, while grieving, he's looking for the proper place to bury his wife and put to pass his mourning in order to claim the land of Canaan for the bloodline. Abraham mourns deeply and buries her in the cave of Machpelah near Hebron. He purchases this cave and the surrounding field from Ephron the Hittite. This becomes the first legal ownership of the promised land. This was the first piece of land Abraham owned in Canaan. Although God had promised the land to him and his descendants, this act made that promise tangible and legal. It was like planting a flag of faith in God's covenant. So not only was Abraham taking ownership of this land while in mourning and while experiencing grief and sadness because of the loss of his wife, he also shows expression of honor and love. He didn't want to just bury his wife Sarah anywhere. He shows how much Sarah means to him. So he pays a full price of a proper burial, refusing to accept it as a gift. So the land of Canaan was free because it was already Abraham's. It already had Abraham's name on it. But Abraham set a boundary and set the tone and told them, I want to buy the land because I want to lay my wife to rest, but also this land is going to be mine and it's going to be for the descendants to come. This act reflects deep respect, dignity, and care for Sarah as his wife and covenant and partner. When Abraham buries Sarah, his wife, it becomes their burial site. The cave of Machpelah becomes the ancestral tomb. It symbolized their permanent connection to the land of Canaan and God's covenant. So even in the process of weeping for his wife, Abraham actually does show great courage. It's kind of gangster because even though he's weeping and he's going through all of these things, he doesn't let sorrow interfere with what God has called him to do. He doesn't let any of those things define who he is and his purpose. So even in the process of weeping for his wife, Abraham actually does show great courage by making the transaction that's done public with witnesses so no one could contest Abraham's claim to the land. So Abraham was standing on business. He's literally claiming his land. He's claiming the land that is for him and his bloodline. It stands as a public declaration of his belief that this land would one day belong to his descendants. These actions that Abraham completed seals the covenants him and Adonai made. Abraham masters peace in the middle of mourning, but Abraham is also investing in legacy. So yes, Abraham went through all of these things with mourning and losing the love of his life, Sarah, but he still had to maintain ownership of the land of Canaan. And he also claims the cave of Machpelah, which becomes their ancestral tomb. And that becomes the family burial site, basically. So he's claiming this land for not just him and Sarah, but for the people to come, the generations and nations that are going to be blessed. This is going to be for them because this is what Adonai told him to do. Mastering peace is burying, mourning, and putting the past to rest. To move forward for your future and not losing yourself in the process. You can't master peace if you won't sit in your pain first. It's knowing when to take action. Put your boundaries, set your boundaries, and make the best decisions for yourself. It's burying what you love and stand firm in what is promised. Peace is your birthright. It's not the absence of pain, but the presence of purpose. Peace shows up when you choose alignment over escape. To embody the divine feminine energy means to discover the power of letting go. When you let go, claim what is yours. Claim your power back. Own it and stand on it in order to invest in your legacy. Don't let sorrow stop you for preparing for the future. I hope this message gives you strength that you need in order to continue to conquer and master peace in your life. Remember who you are. Claim your power because you're unstoppable. Get up from your struggles and sorrow and claim your peace. Claim what is yours. Invest in your legacy. God bless you.